Welcome to this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. And hey, we are all back, finally. It's been a while. I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, and the big dog himself, Scott Medlin, who was not with us during the Get to Know You podcast with the Duke football staff. But hey, glad to have everyone back. We're back to normal. We've got a great episode to discuss. We've got the spring game that happened 10 days ago as of this recording. We've got the NFL draft that just happened this past weekend, and boy, was it a good time for Blue Devil fans. We're going to talk a little bit about the portal. Not a lot's been going on, but Josh has got an update for us. And as always, we're going to take questions from you. It's been a while since we've done that. Can't wait to see what you guys have. But guys, again, as I stated, Josh, Jamie, we saw each other a couple weeks ago, but now Scott's back with us. Let's just get everyone back in the loop. How are we doing? How have things been? How excited were you to see that Duke had 3 Blue Devils drafted for the NFL draft?
Yeah, man. So it's been a while since we've all been together, as you mentioned. I did some basketball stuff during the off season. We're not going to talk about that, but we know Duke did start a basketball program, and so I did some basketball media. I would look forward to hearing real quick for you in a minute from Scott too. Scott's been doing some stuff, but did a little bit of that, man. Went to a few spring practices for Duke football, of course. Still working with the NIL, which is changing rapidly. Literally every week there's something new. Excited really about what Coach Diaz has in store, I believe, for this fall. And, obviously with the transfer portal being a major part of that. So, yeah, it's been good for sure. What about you guys?
Well, just so everybody was wondering, I did not get voted off the island. I actually had to work the day that they talked to the coaches. So for those of you wondering, thinking I got kicked out, I didn't get kicked out yet. Still may happen, but it hasn't happened so far. But yeah, things have been going well. Like Josh said, been covering basketball. I've been covering baseball here for this season so far, and it's been a fun and exciting opportunity. Got some things we'll talk about later on down the road. Got some ideas for next season, but looking forward to them finishing out the baseball season this year. And side note, something I think is interesting. It's kind of exciting for me. I'll be media at the ACC tournament this year down in Charlotte. So really looking forward to that and the opportunity there. Other than that, man, trying to get on with life, started a new job. Job's been kicking my backside, and I'm glad to be back with the guys because this is, like I said, the first time we've actually been together since before Christmas. So it's amazing.
How many times will you yell at the umpires at the ACC tournament?
I have done well.
Okay.
Now here's the funny part. I've actually fit unto the following the code of being media while watching the game.
So your face is beat red because you're really wanting to say something?
Now, Josh can tell you the truth. I've sat with him at many games. I've actually not really cheered all that much. I've watched the games and enjoyed it and told him, well, this is getting ready to happen, and it happened in the wrong way. But, I've actually done a really good job of being a media /fan /behave. And I can't do all the 3 things at the same time usually. So far, so good. It may
those of you that sit with us in Section 17 know that is a well of accomplishment for Scott Medlin.
Yes.
What about you, Holt?
It's just been the same old for me. Go to the beach, fish, sit on the dock, watch the sunset. I did. The biggest thing was I did buy a new truck. So that was my biggest thing over the last couple of months.
Did you go to work at all?
Some, a little bit.
Define work for Jamie. That's the big thing.
I got to build up that vacation time. So
the NIL for Jamie. That's what it is.
Yeah, the NIL.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we were going to record our usual Monday night, but someone, I guess, worked on Monday and got sick afterwards and couldn't do it. So here we are on a Tuesday night recording. Yeah,
Jamie's body's like, man, I don't know what this feels like. I work today.
This
no way I can record.
What are you doing to me? I've honestly, I hate to say this, I have not been in the loop as much as I'd like to have been these last couple of months, but good news personally for our family. My son Harrison, as of an hour ago, took his last chemo pill, hopefully ever. And then on Friday, he will be ringing the bell after 3.5 years of treatment. So needless to say, this has been it's been a journey. If you've been with us since the beginning, as far as listening to us, we've talked about it in depth a little bit, probably first season or two. But yeah, it's a journey that we never thought would end, if we're being completely honest. But all of that to say, we're as back to normal as possible. Looking forward to this summer to spend time with the family as we get closer to the Duke football season. So
keep it peeled to the Section 17 Twitter account, because we're gonna have some video of Harrison ringing that bell. I'll be on the camera for that one, and so we'll let you guys see that. That'll be a really cool thing, even though it isn't UNC.
You will not see me shed tears. I will not. I'm preparing myself. I've shed enough tears these last 3.5 years. I say that, and I'm probably going to start saying my first word, and I'm going to lose it. So it's going to be fun.
I was really going to say, if you don't, I'm sure a lot of us will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I promise you, I will be probably number one on that list, because that's just me. That's how I am.
Don't make me get emotional right now, because I've been doing really well. Been doing really well just thinking through all this stuff. But yeah, it's been, again, I know I keep saying it, but it's been a journey. And thank you to each and every one of you who have reached out to us over these last 3.5 years. It's going to be a good day on Friday.
Yeah, that's awesome. And not to make light of the situation, but Scott gets emotional when like a third string safety hits the portal. Scott's like, man, he starts tearing up on the group text.
I've done well. I've held myself in check in the last 2 weeks from the portal watch, but it's okay. There's still going to be time.
I will say the last time I saw Scott do that was after Duke's last home game, and the president walked up to the tailgate. I mean, Scott lost it. And Dwayne, you could see Dwayne, he's like, I don't really know what to do right now. This man's crying and shaking my hand at the same time. But Dwayne he was great. Yeah. He just really appreciated it. Thank you so much. But Scott was just like pouring his heart out to Dwayne Gardner, which was awesome.
I'm not going to lie to you. The older I get, the worse I am, which I mean, that's probably true for a lot of people. I mean, things do get me, that's the person I am. I'm a very emotional person, and especially when happy things or things that make me joyous. I mean, even going to like graduation, watching kids walk across the stage that I've known for 20 years or 12 years or whatever how long, get a little teary now. I don't know why. Just I guess it's the old man in me.
Jamie tears up when he sees the clock read 5 o'clock when he's working.
5 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
It never sees 5 o'clock when I'm working.
Sorry. Clock in at 8 and then 8:10 you clock out. My apologies. All right, we got to move on. So of course, as I stated, Duke had their spring game 10 days ago. We had the NFL draft. Let's start with the spring game. Half the crew was there. Josh and Scott were there live in person. Jamie was, wait for it, at the beach. I know, shocking to everyone. I was going to be there, but unfortunately my wife went on the disabled list that day, threw her back out, could not move. So I had to be daddy daycare. I had to be husband daycare. I had to be all of it. So I watched a little bit on TV. But Josh, Scott, why don't you guys start? Just give us your thoughts on what you guys saw overall. And again, take it all with a grain of salt. It is the spring game. We are in April still. A lot to happen before the first kickoff against Elon.
Yeah, I'll let Scott talk a little bit more maybe about the details of what happened on the field, even though it was kind of weird this year, obviously without a full game. I do appreciate the way the staff did their best to put together offense versus defense, kind of 7-on-7 simulated with some offensive line sprinkled in there. But, obviously this was our first, as far as public glimpse at Malik Murphy, who transferred in from Texas during the offseason. Obviously, a lot of Duke fans are really looking forward to that. If I may, I think what we saw that night is that this is a quarterback battle. This is not a job being handed to anyone. Grayson Loftus looked really, really, really sharp. And if I may, I probably went to 5 or 6 spring practices Grayson looked very, very sharp the entire spring. And so I think he and Malik are going to fight that out, man. I think that's going to be interesting. We won't take a long time to talk through that, but Malik's a great kid. He's a leader as you would expect a quarterback to be. And so, yeah, I think Duke's in good hands there in the quarterback room. Obviously, Henry Beelan still not throwing the football. I'm not sure where that's going to leave Henry. He probably has some decisions to make himself, just on like big picture, decisions. But he has some sort of injury with his shoulder, and they just keep saying it's requiring rest. Evidently, every time he thinks he's rested, it re-injures. And so I don't know what that's going to be. You hate it for him. But as far as the overall feel, I thought the spring game was well attended. Duke fans came out, not only in the stands, there was a huge group of people up in the tower as well. And so I thought it was well attended. ESPN coverage, I actually went back and watched a little bit of it. Poor West Durham, man. My man was looking like he was looking at, we have 2 number 10s, we have 2 number 4s. He was looking at the wrong one all the time. But anyway, he was like Nick Lampert with the catch, and it's like Eli Pancall strolling down the field. Or like Hobson, and it was like it was Peyton Jones, So that was weird, but I thought it was neat to see the interviews and all that kind of stuff. And then afterwards, we had a little DDC event. If you're a Durham Devils Club member at the blue and white level or higher, we invited those. There were 6 players there. Did some autographs, meet and greet afterwards. So that's from my perspective. Scott saw more on the field than what I did. So Scott, what did you see from there, from your perspective?
Well, there's a good opportunity to see some of the younger guys. Obviously, the O-line is going to be a question. We're going to definitely have to hit the portal there. Running backs, we're going to have to hit the portal there also. I will say the one downside of the whole night was Jaden Moore getting hurt, and that really zapped a lot of energy out of a lot of things. But Josh and I actually talked to him afterwards. He's upbeat, had a great spirit about the whole thing. You don't get that from an 18-year-old ever. And he had the perfect attitude. He said he'll be fine. He'll get back. He'll be stronger. This was like an hour and a half after it happened. So, it says a lot about him and his character and about the Moore family. Obviously we love the Moores. Honestly, looking at the couple practices I went to, Josh is on point about Grayson looked good and Malik looks good throwing the football. And watching the two of them lead from the sideline really says a lot about both those guys. And the team looks at both of them as leaders. So it was really good to see that. I think Trey Freeman's going to be a dog on defense, and he's got the personality for it. Him and Chandler and those guys, coming into the next season now, are going to have to make a little bit of a step up from where they were kind of behind the scenes a little bit. Now they're going to be in the forefront. They're going to be people that, quote unquote, get picked on a regular basis. But, all in all, it was a good opportunity to see the guys play. I was at the one practice I was at, and I got to tell the story because I think this story is amazing. I was watching we were doing the media over in the corner down in the end zone, and Jordan Moore and Malik were out there, and Malik was about the 35-yard line throwing high 35-yard in the air passes, perfect spirals right to Jordan's breadbasket. Wherever he moved, he threw it right in the air, and it came right down perfectly. And he was moving all over the place. It was amazing just to see his arm and the talent that's there. So, again, cannot wait till we get to August when everybody's in there getting ready for the season. And, going to see some roles. Like, we're going to see some people who, we may not have thought about getting the time. I mean, it was kind of interesting for me. Just, we're obviously big Peyton Jones fans. I didn't see him like I thought I was going to, but I know it was, it's just a practice. So it really wasn't anything major. So you can't read anything into any of it. But all in all, I mean, like Josh said, the fans were great. The media event afterward there, or the DC event was really good. And the guys were great. honestly, and I'm not saying this because we're Duke officiate, these guys genuinely love each other. They were having fun. They were enjoying themselves. When the fans came up and spoke to them, I mean, they were just as nice as they could be. And that's what you would expect, obviously. But it just seemed like they, they spent a little extra time with the younger kids and stuff like that because they understood what they were doing and the way they were doing it.
I will say one thing about what Josh said about the TV coverage, and I think Brian might even back me up because we were both watching. The interviews were fantastic. A lot of the sideline interviews and stuff like that, but it was really hard to keep up with what was going on. Like I know, like what Josh said, West Durham probably had to been sweating just like trying to keep up with people with different numbers and everything like that. It was crazy. One thing that jumped out at me was Malik. He looked like he's as big as a side of a house. I mean, dude is huge for a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know who the director was for the spring game, but they must have had ADHD because they cut the shot and then they cut to the coach being interviewed and then they cut back to a group of people not doing anything and then you cut to someone else. Like, it was just very hard to keep up with. But yeah, to Jamie's point, Malik looked good. Hated for Jaden Moore. I mean, they immediately it was a non-contact injury for those of you who weren't there or couldn't watch it. I think he did a pivot or something and just immediately clutched his leg. Have we gotten an official word on what happened with him?
I mean, they're not going to say, but it's knee and it's for
it's
the
a
year.
lower body.
Put two and two together.
And for what Scott said too about Jaden, his reaction to the injury. I mean, I don't think any of us are surprised at that. Like, that family as a whole is just fantastic, and we've known them now for a couple of years, and it's not surprising that he had a positive reaction, and he will come back strong. I have no doubt.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and we can end on the spring game. It seemed that the buildup, even with all the deficiencies on this team currently, was still there from the fan base. On Twitter, Facebook, wherever, folks were excited just to see people in action. Your Malik Murphys, even Grayson too, to see, like Josh was mentioning earlier, will there be a quarterback battle heading into the 24 season? So still a lot to happen in the off season, which we'll talk about with the transfer portal here later. But all in all, no real big injuries other than Jaden Moore. Sometimes that happens in spring games. But hey, at least we broadcast our spring game. There was a certain team 8 miles down the road who was so unsure about what their defensive schemes were and who the quarterback was going to be that they just decided, you know what, we don't want you to broadcast it. If you want to come see it, come in person. What a coward's way out. Just my 2 cents. But after the spring game, of course, last week we had the big NFL draft, and all eyes were on Graham Barton in the first round, as well as Dwayne Carter, Jacob Monk. Where would they go and in what round? And fellas, I think I speak for all 4 of us. I don't think Graham could have found a better landing spot. A lot of mock drafts had him going to the Bucs. Yeah, Jamie's a Panthers fan. Keep pouting. But in all honesty, as far as a perfect team for him to fall into, the Buccaneers were probably one of the best teams out of the first round. Of course, Dwayne Carter gets drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 3rd round, and then Jacob Monk, I believe the 5th round, gets drafted by the Green Bay Packers. So just overall thoughts on the NFL draft itself. Also, some of the guys signed as undrafted free agents, and some got invited to rookie mini camps. So let's just talk through that.
I think all 3 of our guys hit great spots. I mean, as much as I don't like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm super happy for Graham and know that he's going to come in and compete right away and probably start on that line. I know I was reading through some comments because I got some Tampa friends, and I was reading through some comments and stuff on social, and it seemed like everybody was extremely happy to have him. Like, they would say the typical, it's not a sexy pick, but it's the best pick, and that they made the best pick, and they were extremely happy to have him. And I even commented on one of the posts saying, you're lucky to have that entire family, because once again, the Bartons, we've known to come to really love them and like them. So that was a good spot. Dwayne landing at the Bills, man, what a good spot. And what a motor. The Bills fans are going to love his motor, nonstop motor. We've seen it at Duke, and we'll see it again in the NFL. I have no doubt that Dwayne will be like an all-pro type player at some point in his career. I don't know. He's just going to get in there and hustle and work. And Jacob Monk going to Green Bay. I think, didn't they draft him as a center as well?
Yes.
Because they were talking about Graham as a center as well. Both of them can kind of move around a little bit. So that gives you a lot of room to play. If you're a organization, you like to see guys that can move around and go to different spots if need be with injury and stuff like that. But I was really happy with all three of our guys that were drafted and thought that they hit real good spots.
Yeah, I was really excited about that. We were obviously, folks, we were in a group chat talking the whole draft, especially after the run of the quarterbacks went. And, for those of you that are fans of the Star, your boy screwed up. He should have got Graham Barton instead of trading down. And if you don't believe that, then you need to quit drinking the Kool-Aid. But anyway, obviously great opportunity for Graham. And if I'd forgotten until we saw the great videos by Zach Smith and the guys at Duke football about there's Dukies on the staff there. Thad Lewis, and I think there's one other coach that's a Dookie. So that's another great thing. But, Graham will, if he's not a starter, he will be up there in the line getting in the mix. Jacob, same thing. Have no doubt whatsoever in my mind about that. Green Bay and Tampa are two places that are always known for great offensive line play, with Rodgers and Brady over the years. And now Baker's going to have an opportunity with Graham in front of him. And then honestly, Dwayne Carter, I think that's a great opportunity for him in Buffalo. I said it on Twitter. I am a huge Von Miller fan. I love Von Miller. He reminds me of Von Miller a whole lot. And for those who don't know, Von Miller is the guy that broke Cam Newton back in the Super Bowl 50. But anyway, he has that kind of motor, and you can imagine those two guys working side by side. Man, Buffalo's already really good, but that defense got a whole lot better with the president over there. And congrats to the president and his now fiance on their engagement. But yeah, and these free agencies or these camp signees, you never know. I mean, there's a chance for every last one of these guys to make a team, and if not, possibly get on somewhere, maybe on a practice squad, and maybe next season be on a team. But the big three, really happy about them and where they ended up.
Yeah, I'll just echo. Want to shout out the Barton family and the fact that Zach and I think Jake were able to really follow. If you watch the second video where they went and played golf and like the whole day, like that was really cool. It really made you feel like you were there with them. And so shout out to them, Tampa Bay, Thad Lewis. That whole connection is going to be really good. Great weather, all that stuff. Bills Mafia is getting a heck of a player. What a week for Dwayne Carter, man! Like getting drafted in the NFL and engaged within like a 4-day period of time. Pretty incredible. I know he and his girlfriend or fiance now have been together for several years. So shout out and congrats to them. Also shout out to Bills Mafia for adding Dwayne Carter's dad into your fan base. Like you are getting an epic fan and Big Wayne. And so I'm sure they'll be traveling a lot. And then speaking of an awesome family, I mean the Monks, like it doesn't get better, than Stanley and Shireen and their whole family. And so Jacob, obviously, I mean, if you're there's no more storied, I guess you could argue there's some other, but I mean, it is one of the most storied franchises in NFL history. And so that's really cool for them. And then I'll make one comment on the undrafted free agents. I made it on Twitter. I really like the Jalen Calhoun Detroit Lions pairing. And for Jalen's sake, he's obviously going to be a slot guy in the league. And like, dude, Amon-Ra St. Brown is like, in my opinion, like possibly I don't know what you call Tyreek Hill. Put Tyreek Hill in his own category. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the best slot receiver that is like a more traditional receiver. Tyreek Hill is a freak. But I think being able to learn from a guy like St. Brown is going to be really awesome for Jalen. And so that obviously a bunch of other guys got drafted. I think we actually have a question that we'll get to in a little bit, asking us about this. So I don't want to go too far into that, but those are my thoughts on the draft.
Well, Scott mentioned it earlier for Cowboys fans. It was a tumultuous first round, and I am a Cowboys fan for those of you who don't know. So when Joe Alt went 5th to the Chargers, that kind of shuffled everything up because Joe was supposed to go to the Titans based off all the mocks. But as we joke in our group chat, mocks don't mean anything. They truly don't. Anything could happen.
Brian only shared 3,900
every single
mocks.
one of them. Yep.
Brian got into the mocks just as much as he does bowl season when
Yes.
it hits September.
Yes.
Listen, Brian looked at so many mock drafts. He had Graham going to every organization.
Graham actually was going first to the Bears in a surprise.
Exactly, in this one that he found. Yeah, and we found it on a fake Twitter account though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get got every so often on Twitter. But no, it was interesting because we had thought maybe the Seahawks would draft Graham because they needed O-line help. And then they talked about how the Saints needed O-line help. Then once those two teams drafted past, the next two teams were the Steelers and the Eagles, both nemesis of the Cowboys. So I was like, please, selfishly, please, God, don't let him go there. Because like Jamie, with Bucks apparel, I can't buy any Philly or Pittsburgh apparel. So he gets past that. When he got past that, I was giddy. I was like, oh, man, he's coming to Dallas. He is coming to Dallas. And then something's up when a team takes the entire 10 minutes to make a pick. When they got to about a minute to go, my excitement level just dropped because I knew something was going to happen. And sure enough, they traded back to the 8th pick, 29th pick. 29th, thanks. And then my heart just sunk. But that was selfishly. But then I saw the Bucks were next. I was like, he's going to go to Tampa Bay. And I'm happy to see him there, in all honesty. Selfishly, as a fan, I would have loved to have seen him in Dallas, but I don't think that's a better landing spot for him based off the circumstances. Just to echo what everyone was saying, I think Dwayne is going to shine in Buffalo. From what I've seen on social media, the fans have already taken a huge liking to him, and we are going to do everything to be his biggest supporters here in Durham.
Brian, tell him what you did earlier today.
I didn't do it yet.
Oh no, you no do yet?
No, yet, not yet. I know by. Let's be real, folks. $130 for an authentic NFL jersey. I know inflation's around, folks, but come on. There's a way to get around it, and some of you have shown that in Wallace Wade Stadium with some of your Duke jerseys. Let's just say there might be some jerseys from the east side coming to Durham in the coming months. They might appear on some of these episodes. But anyway, Monk, Jacob, what I loved, one of his first tweets out after he got drafted, what is the best cheese that I can buy? What a better way to appeal to the fan base.
Whoa, what's your answer, guys? I mean, did anybody give him? I gave him my answer. What's your best cheese?
American canned cheese.
In a can.
Yeah. Horseradish cheddar.
Dude, that's underrated. I love that. I said Havarti. I love Havarti.
Yes. I told him that. He didn't
cheese.
respond, but I'm sure Packers fans are like pinkies up when it comes to cheese. But all in all, again, for those of you who don't know, Miles Jones and Al Blades both signed to go to the Jets, Jalen Calhoun to the Lions, Jamion Franklin to the Ravens, and Jeremiah Lewis, he's going to the Giants rookie camp. And we'll talk more about that later on in our questions.
You forgot someone.
Porter
Stretch.
Where did Stretch go? I didn't. Oh, he did go to the Packers. I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
But he got a rookie camp invite or something.
No, he got. I thought he was a.
I think it was rookie. I think I do remember seeing it was rookie. So
they interviewed him and they were like, "What are you planning on doing when you get to Green Bay?" Stretch.
Folks, that is probably the one episode we will never release. There's only been that one episode, and it was that one. And again, to each his own. It was just the man likes to stretch. That's all we will say based off the answers that we got. But so again, a good NFL draft. It was the first time since 1965 that Duke had 3 players drafted in the NFL draft. So kudos to Coach Cutcliffe, Coach Elko for getting them ready, and of course the man himself, David Feely, because he helped these guys get ready after the season was done to make sure their combines and their pro days were as best as possible. So we're going to move on from the NFL draft. Just a few minutes as far as the transfer portal goes. I know a lot of you have been wondering, hey, guys are leaving. We haven't seen anyone coming in. What's the deal? Are we going to have anyone? Let's just take a collective breath, folks. It's April. We've got another, 5 months before kickoff against Elon goes. But Josh is kind of on the inside with the DDC. So, Josh, I don't know if you want to speak to this more, maybe just to put some fans' minds at ease as we head into the official off season after spring ball, but I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So, number one, I completely understand from a surface level viewpoint. I completely understand why people are like, "What the heck is going on?" Right? Like, I completely get that. Completely understand it. Number one, Duke did land 11 incoming transfers so far for this upcoming season in that early signing period. Many of them offensive linemen. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. Obviously, Malik Murphy, he's here early. Kendi Charles, the defensive lineman from Liberty, here early. He was there. Jack Purcell is here early. He was hurt, but he's going to be on the offensive line. So, Duke has already kind of done a little bit. And by the way, if you have not seen Micah, I don't know how you say his last name. Dude's got some incredible eyes. Look him up, Micah Sayakhan. But he's coming in now. Duke has had 18 players to enter the transfer portal. One of those players is Daquan Johnson, who was not on the roster last year. So that's not even anybody coming off the roster. Here's what I will say. In order for Duke to hit the portal and get the players that Manny Diaz wants in those certain spots, there has to be roster spots open for that to take place. There's not been, to my knowledge, and I'm not going to speak officially for anybody, to my knowledge, there has not been one player that has entered this transfer portal that was a surprise to the coaching staff, that the coaching staff had not honestly kind of planned on it happening. So everybody can just take a big, deep breath. Duke now has the next month and a half to 2 months, probably May and half of June, to sign players in the portal. That is exactly what NIL is here for. Duke has been able to offer some great opportunities in the NIL space for incoming players. And so I would say to Duke fans, just keep your eyes open. Pretty soon here, you're going to start to see guys coming in, trickling in, signing with Duke, and Duke will be ready to go when the season begins. So that is the transfer portal in a nutshell. You never like to see guys leave, obviously, but it just is the nature of the beast. And anyway, Duke is going to get hit just like any other team. And so that is the way it is. But this is something with a new coach that Coach Diaz was expecting and ready for, and they're ready to replace those roster spots.
And from what I saw, there are thousands of players technically in this portal. So hypothetically, let's just say that Coach Diaz and his staff have their eyes on said player decides, I'm going to go elsewhere. Kind of like a draft. Only the player makes the decision. They've got other options. It's not he was the only one and he didn't come to Duke. We don't have an option B. There's options A through Z really with every position. Yep. We as a fan base, and I'm included as well, every time I see a transfer on Twitter, I'm thinking, oh, he'd be good at Duke. He'd be good at Duke. He'd be good at Duke. So you have to realize not every player's announcing that they're going into the portal via Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. They just let the NCAA know, and they're there. So there's probably players that this coaching staff is targeting that we have no idea about. So there could be some announcements where we're going, who? Don't know who this person is, but in Manny we trust, as everyone's been saying. You got to, like Josh said, give the man some grace, give the coaching staff some grace, because we were selfish as a fan base when Elko came in, and I think we lost 3 players total to the portal. Everyone else stayed. of course, that was a different time because
It was a different time, man.
Exactly.
The NIL was not what it is now.
But still, to go, oh, we only lost 3 players to now, oh my gosh, what's going on? The sky is falling. Take a breath. I agree with what Josh had to say.
Yeah, if I may, real quick, just as we're thinking about the transfer portal as a whole, NIL, all these different things, like Duke is well prepared for these things. Coach Diaz is very sharp. Every decision is being made, with an end goal in mind, and so that's what I would say to Duke fans is just be patient, and it's going to all work itself out.
All right. Well, that was the transfer portal, and now we're going to get to the favorite part of the episode, every episode that we have, and that's the fan-based questions. Thank you, guys. We posted, I believe it was Friday or Saturday, and you guys did not fail. We've got plenty of questions both from Facebook and Twitter/X. So, Jamie, as always, let's get the ball rolling with our first question.
All right. I'm going to start with JD at FishFry02. Our guy, JD. Shout out to the AEW wrestling tickets. That was another thing I did while we were off.
Jamie got to watch Sting die.
yeah. Got to watch Sting put through glass and almost die. It's fine. But anyways, he says, any chance that we could do a live recording or maybe a live X broadcast at a home game this year during the tailgate, say during the day for a night game? It's a good idea. I don't know how it would work.
Bad idea. We tried a live show last year, and attendance was a little sketch. Just to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, the problem that we've had going live on game days is the noise factor and the quality. And so we do have better equipment now than we've ever had. So we might be able to broadcasting live would be a challenge, but I think, who knows? We might be able to pull it off. We only have 6 home games this year. 2 of them are on Friday nights. And so we don't have that many options, really.
So let's just mark those 2 off because, the parking lots aren't going to open until 6 o'clock for 7 o'clock kickoff.
No comments.
And now we gotta fight for our space, so we gotta make sure we're.
Oh, it's great. I love it. The B lot, the B lots are now, it's just B lot. There's no 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever. So that's the best for us because we get there at the butt crack of dawn. Park wherever we want.
I don't know. The hard hats are going to have to get there at 5:15 now.
Oh no, Scott's going to be there at 7 o'clock the night before. Scott's got them. He'll park his truck caddy corner.
All right, I will do what I need to do. Yes.
JD had a second question, and this was an interesting question, which we talked about the draft some a few minutes ago. What undrafted free agent has the best shot at making a roster and a career in the NFL? I'll go first since I'm unmuted. And I mean, first one that jumps out at me is Jalen Calhoun. Caveat there, I have not really looked at the Lions roster. I know they're a good team and they have a lot of receivers, but he will have a chance to make the team as a special teams guy, and I think he can make an impact. And we've seen. I mean, I saw in Carolina, I saw Agent 89 make the team as a special teams guy, and then go on to have a pretty solid career. But I'm not saying Jalen Calhoun's going to be Steve Smith or anything, but I think he has a chance to have a decent career. So
can we say this now that he's not a player on the Duke roster? Do we really want him back there fielding punts? So, anyways,
dang, all right,
ouch,
fantastic,
wow. That hurt.
I actually agree with both Josh and Jamie. I think Jalen's got the best shot to shine because he's going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got to remember Jamison Williams, even though I think he was what was he suspended for the gambling situation?
Yeah, that's the guy from Alabama, right?
Right. He's a speedster.
Yeah,
I mean, dude can flat out just jet. I was looking at everyone else. Maybe the third best receiver that I'm seeing right now on the current roster is Donovan Peoples-Jones, who came over from Cleveland. So, I mean, Jalen could be fighting. Yeah, he could be fighting for that third or fourth wide receiver spot for sure.
And I pick on Jalen about the punt returns. Let me say this. In the slot, hands, strong, he's got it. He
had some speed at Pro Day too.
Hey, I'll just for what it's worth, I'll side differently just to be different. I do think Jamion has a very good shot at the Ravens. I think he fits in that program and how their mantra perfectly.
And for those of you who've not seen it, the Roll Tide Willie, don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Who's that comedian that shows up with him?
Drewski.
Drewski.
Yeah.
Drewski and Jamion Franklin
Yeah.
are long lost twins because every time I see Drewski, I tag Jamion and he just runs with it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a photo of Drewski dressed in his, let's just call it redneck attire. And I said, Jamion arriving to Ravens camp day one. And he was like, yeah, that's pretty much spot on. So the fans have taken a liking to him already based off the Twitter interaction I've seen. So I think he could shine in Baltimore too.
All right, Tyler Lester at TS Lester. He says, this is a good one, I thought. Just for fun, say Duke didn't exist. Who would you find yourself rooting for? And I immediately go to my second favorite college team.
UNC.
Second favorite college football team, the Carolina Panthers, right down the road in Charlotte. I mean, they are a college team, right? Is that they got that little guy at quarterback?
Hey, his parents he had a good first day at camp from what we saw. His parents dropped him off.
Yeah, mommy and daddy dropped him off and let him walk across the field.
he's like, okay, all right, but David Tepper might come after me. You'll see him going after the people that.
Well, stop putting signs up at your restaurant like that, Jamie.
He might come after me. But in all seriousness, as far as college teams, I guess it would be. My sister went to Tennessee. I went to Durham Tech, so like they don't have a team. So like Lawson Street University doesn't have a team.
The Night Owls.
My sister went to Tennessee, so I'd probably pull for Tennessee. Maybe.
I gotta go with the Lord's school, guys. Liberty. Amen. Praise him. I mean, we just got the Lord's transfer in at Duke. Yeah, I mean, I went there, and their program has just exploded since I've left as far as success goes. Josh still thinks that they shouldn't have been in the Fiesta Bowl, which the score proved it. I will admit the score proved it, but you just never know with the 12-team playoff that's coming into play this year. But, yeah, definitely the Flames. Scott?
I mean, I've been a Colorado Buffalo fan for years. I mean, since 1990. Years and years and years ago, way before Prime came in. So, I mean, that's definitely that's one of the few I've made that trip out to Boulder to see a game, and that was a great time. We had a great time there. I'm going to do it again one day, I promise.
All right, I'm going to rock the boat here a little bit. I'm going to tell you the two that I considered, and then I'm going to give you my answer. The one I considered was the team that I liked when I was in college or high school and college. Because my dad is from East Tennessee, and they were really good at the time, and that was Tennessee. I was a big Peyton Manning guy, loved T. Martin. So I could see myself leaning that direction. Jamie, shout out your sister. Sister or cousin?
Both.
Sister. Sister.
He said both.
Hey, that's my family tree. Sorry. I'm getting things mixed up.
Oh, that's funny. And then my second potential team that I'm going to not go with is the Florida Gators. And that's because my father-in-law, shout out to my father-in-law. He is a huge Florida Gator fan. Chomp, chomp. And so I could see myself that, but I'm going to rock the boat, fellas. I'm staying inside the ACC. And I'm going with our stepbrother, the redheaded stepchild, the NC State Wolfpack. If I was not a Duke fan, hey, listen.
No.
Say what you want to say. It's the best football environment in the state.
The comments you're saying, the redheaded stepchild, because that redheaded stepchild might curb stomp us this year.
Oh, they're going to be good. There's no question. Now, in the same vein that I have a soft spot for NC State, I also make fun of potentially the most ignorant fan base in sports history over there in Raleigh. So you got to take the good with the bad. The bad with the good, I mean. But that would be mine.
All right, we are moving on, and I was not ready. So
shocking, fantastic.
He's still trying to get over that family tree joke.
Yeah.
So we got at Noah Lunsford 6, our guy Noah, still looking for his shoes.
Scumbag.
Never, yeah, 2 scumbags in a row. 2.
Yeah, that's right. Shout out to the GA Scumbags new podcast.
No, we love Tyler and Noah. They're some big time Duke fans. But Noah wants to know, Okay, now, if I go with him to the Coca-Cola 600, will we get kicked out? I mean, 99% yes.
Will
Because
Noah even make it
Noah-
into the
Noah.
track?
Noah will get us kicked out.
I'm wondering though, when are you arriving? Because that will determine whether or not he will even make it into the speedway.
Well, shoot, at the Coca-Cola 600, you have to arrive 10 days before there just to even get a parking spot.
I've done it, and it is a marathon race. Even worse, when we went, it rained halfway through. They didn't restart the race till midnight.
Ooh.
Yeah, we didn't get home till 4 a.m.
What are you guys talking about?
They're
Oh,
making
NASCAR?
they're
I'm
making
sorry.
a left turn.
Yeah,
Listen,
make a left turn.
We're
right
talking about
there.
sisters being cousins, so we might as well talk NASCAR.
That's true. It's the natural next step. I agree.
Two,
Let me
two-
guess. Wrestling's next.
two things that Josh won't get is wrestling and NASCAR. So there you
Hey,
go.
wrestling's going to come into one of the questions here soon.
That's really
That'll do
cool.
it for
And just-
Josh Cox. He's signing off.
What color diaper should the wrestler wear?
All right, now here's one that I hope we kind of gave some thought before we even got on. Dangerous Dave _4. A lot of people were talking about ways to honor Dwayne Carter, and it got me thinking of a Duke football Ring of Honor. If Duke football were to start a Ring of Honor, who would be our first 5 inductees? Let's shoot it to Brian first.
Okay, so let me ask: are we each doing our 5, or are we going to do one at a time and get to 5?
I'm good with either or.
Doesn't
We're each
Just
do
do 5. Just knock it all out.
and
Okay.
we can repeat
Yeah, we can-
because we know
yeah, okay.
we'll repeat. So
All right, cool. Give your 5.
All right, I'm going with the Godfather, Wallace Wade. 6 conference titles, 2 Rose Bowl appearances. I'm going with football. My man took us to 6 bowl games. David Cutcliffe, for those of you who have just started watching us, and 1 coastal title. Say what you will. Yeah, it ended a rocky. It had a rocky ending, but all things to say, he got the program back to where it was or where it should be. I'm going with Clarkston Hines, wide receiver from the late 80s. Josh, I think I stole your list. 3-time first-team All-ACC, an All-American in 89, and ACC Player of the Year in 1989. If only they could have won the All-American Bowl, but they didn't. I'm actually going with someone. I'm going to shock you guys. Daniel Jones. I'm going with DJS because I didn't realize this. He was 3-0 against UNC. Those 3 years, Duke kept the bell all 3 years, and he was 2-0 in the bowl games. Of course, the handshake game, everything like that, but he did a lot to help the program progress. And then I've got to go with the president, Dwayne Carter. I think he has done more, I think, off the field than he's done on the field. Don't get me wrong. He's done a lot on the field. He's gone through he went through 2 coaching changes, but just the motor, his character, being a 3-time captain, he did a lot more, again, off the field to help the program than a lot of people realize. So that's my 5. Kind of a every generation category. Of course, we didn't include the ones from like 70 to 88 or 2000 to 2000 or whatever. But yeah, that's my 5.
I'll go next. I'm immediately going to steal 2 of Brian's because you cannot have a Ring of Honor without putting the man who has his name on the stadium in there. He took Duke to. Obviously, I wasn't around to see it,
Are you
but
sure?
my grandpa. Fun story. My grandpa used to sell Cokes there at the games.
My grandpa
when,
Flash, brother.
But anyways, Wallace Wade took Duke to national title heights. Something that Duke hadn't seen. Well, Duke had seen really because Duke had been good in football, but whatever. He took them to the heights.
And I forgot to mention this, the 1938 team is actually recognized by some as the national champions.
Right.
They were not scored on the entire season. There's a banner in the tower I took a photo of. I'll probably post it on Twitter. That team was just dominant. Sorry, Jamie, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. That team was dominant, and there's at least one publication that recognized them as the national champion, and Duke doesn't. I mean, Duke technically could hang a banner for that, but our friends down the road in Chapel Hill probably would have hung a banner. Like, I'm just saying.
They would give rings to the family.
Yeah. Next, I mean, I got to go David Cutcliffe as well. He brought Duke out of oblivion, like just awful football, 0 and whatever every year. Seemed like it was just a terrible, terrible stretch from when Spurrier left to when David Cutcliffe came. We only had the one winning season, and that was it. From there, I'm gonna go Ben Bennett, quarterback I believe number 2 all time. I think he's behind Thaddeus Lewis though, but still, Ben Bennett put up some video game type numbers. Randy Cuthbert from that '89 team. I'll stay different from Brian there, and one more.
Don't Barton us, man. Come on.
Can't come back to. No, I'm just kidding. I'll go Dwayne Carter as well. I mean, I think that just he represents the university so well, and who better to have in the Ring of Honor than Dwayne from the current era of Duke football than Dwayne Carter.
All right, so I'll make mine quick then. I'm gonna copy 3 of those. OWW, Wallace Wade, Big Wally, David Cutcliffe, football, Dwayne Carter. I've got those 3 in my Ring of Honor. Going a little different. Got Thad Lewis, number 1 quarterback in Duke history. And I have someone that I believe similarly to Dwayne Carter, had he played 5 years later when social media was like killer, Duke would have been he would have been Mr. Duke, Laken Tomlinson. Came to Duke pre-med, has plans after the NFL to continue his medical degree, to go back to his home country of Jamaica to provide healthcare and to help reform healthcare there in this country. To me, that embodies, think about that, that embodies Duke. You come to Duke with an academic thought, you make it to the NFL, you're very successful, and then you come back and finish whatever he does medically and then go help somebody. To me, that is Duke. And so that's why I'm Laken the Jamaican.
All right, so obviously I'm going to pick somebody probably off of everybody's list that was been said, but obviously Wallace Wade. That's a no doubt right there. I think Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach, and a lot of people would recognize him as one of the greats, even though he wasn't there that long. But that nice 41-0 over against Chapel Hill College that day, that beautiful picture that was taken afterwards, makes him a legend no matter what else he did in his life. I'm a Ben Bennett guy. I've heard enough Ben Bennett stories from my dad over the years, and I saw him play a little bit as I was a younger child. Clarkston Hines, who was the man, one of the greatest college wide receivers of all time. And then, honestly, it's hard to try to pick maybe the 5th guy, but same reason everybody else has said. Dwayne Carter is just, he's a Duke guy. He's one of the many reasons, and I would argue this many ways as I can. No, but people recognize Duke because of him, because of the stand and the where he's been at in the last 3 years as far as being the president. Duke football became popular, and he became the face of Duke football, and that helps. And obviously, if you're going to be the face of football, you got to be in the Ring of Honor.
Scott got through that without crying.
All right. Next question comes from @BleedInDukeBlue, who has changed his name. This is Sam. He was at LA Dodgers all day. Now he's at @BleedInDukeBlue.
Scott, you have changed him.
Because there's only 60 games worth of championship in there. That's why you got to change your name from LA all day, because you're not winning a championship in a full 162 games. That's for you, Kyler Kadner, and that's for you, Sam, buddy. Love you both.
Get your bets in while you can. That's all I'm going to say.
But he says non-football. You say, growing up, what would have been each of our dream jobs, no matter how unrealistic it may have felt then. And he says, I'm going to assume Jamie's would have been lifeguard. It's as close as he can get to the water, which, here we go. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. I grew up as a young kid in the 80s. This man carried the red, white, and blue. He wore red and yellow. Hulkamania ran wild in the 80s. And I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I wanted to be the WWF World Heavyweight Champion. Brother.
I am a real American.
I only work 2 days out of the year. Hey, I'm gonna be close to you because there were 2 jobs, dream jobs, that I wanted to have. The first, let's just get out of a NASCAR driver. I wanted to turn left, make money, kiss all the girls in Victory Lane. Never came to fruition. The other one, I wanted to follow in my family lineage. I wanted to be the president. I wanted to be another Kennedy in the White House. But
Dodging bullets, baby. Dodging bullets.
Dodging bullets. Gosh. Yep. I'll never forget. I had a custodian at my high school. Every time he saw me, he called me Mr. President. Mr. President, Mr. President. His name was Rudy Dunbar. I'll never forget his name. But yeah, I'm a big history guy. I love all things presidents. I was like, you know what? I could do this. I could go to college and turn 35 and, I could run for president. Yeah, I got about 21. I was like, there's no chance that's happening. So yeah, a NASCAR driving president of the United States. There we go. Who's next?
I wonder what party you'd have ran with. Anyway. All right.
Green party all day long.
All right. Yeah, mine was kind of. I grew up. I know by the looks of it right now. I obviously had no future playing the sport, but I really loved basketball, and I enjoyed the mental aspect of basketball. And so I would have probably said basketball coach. Not sure what level. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'd go and do that right now if the right opportunity was there. I think it's really cool the amount of influence. Okay, let's just say it's on the high school level. The amount of influence that coaches have. We all think back to our time. We remember teachers. We remember other leaders and everybody in our lives. But there's an emotional connection that I think every single one of us have with coaches. I think back even to Little League Baseball. I think back to playing high school sports. So I think I would have wanted to be a coach. That would have been what I'd like to do. Scott?
Well, I mean, I would obviously something sports related because that's just been my life for my whole time. I enjoy, what Josh just said is really the truth. I enjoy working with kids and teaching and sports like that. But the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that I would be in jail if I did that for a living. So praise the Lord, I don't do that. But honestly, I kind of get to do what I'm enjoying doing. I do play-by-play and stuff for the school, for the church school. I've always wanted to do that. I always thought that would be cool to be like Bob Harris or Dick Vitale, people like that. And that's something I've always enjoyed. I comment. I mean, obviously, I don't shut up when I'm at a big game because I can't be quiet for 5 seconds because I'm noticing something or pointing out something. It's just something I've always enjoyed doing. So I think, being the next Jim Nantz, hello, friends, would be what I would want to do if I was going to grow up one day.
All right. I'm struggling with my mute button tonight, so y'all give me a break.
Mute button 1, Jamie 0.
At Duke FB fans _ now. Our guy Jordan, free. What is it? Free at Duke FB fan. What was it? What was his original?
Just no underscore.
Yeah, no underscore.
Yeah.
So free that one, Elon. Come on, man. That's ridiculous that he's still in Twitter.
Gig him.
Who are some young guys that we have seen or heard about that we would think will make an impact? And he might have been talking about freshmen here, guys that are just coming in. But I was thinking, Peyton right off the bat jumps up off the page at me because I think he'll make a huge impact in the running game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to go with another guy, Sean Brown. He started coming on at the end of the season. Mekhi Wall is in the transfer portal. And so that kind of frees up that second level slot guy. I think our number ones are going to, maybe get to a guy that is not a young guy, but our number ones 3 out of these 4 are going to be number ones. That's Jordan Moore, Samir Hagans, Javon Harvey, the transfer from Old Dominion, and Eli Pancol. So out of those 3, we're going to have our top receivers out of those 4. But I think that Sean Brown's going to be in that next tier with probably John Tavis Robertson and whoever is left from that 4. So I'm going to say Sean Brown.
Nobody else? All right. I'm going to move on to Facebook.
Oh, I got
now.
one. A young kid. His name is Malik Murphy. You may have heard of him.
I think we have. Seems like he's a pretty big kid too. Moving on to Facebook, Tyler Lester coming in again. He says he wants to spice it up a little. Who would we have at our dinner party if we had 4 people?
I'll go.
Nobody wants to go.
No. I mean, I am going with the gone too soon table. And by that, I'm going to have folks that were taken from this earth too early in their careers. First one is going to be funny man Chris Farley. I loved Chris Farley. Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, they are remote droppers for me. I can quote
Beverly
Tommy
Hills
Boy.
Ninja.
Yeah, anything.
Another good
Any
one.
SNL,
Yeah.
any of his old skits. I can quote Tommy Boy from beginning to end. It's just one of those classic movies. It'd be interesting because he was 33. He was a part of the 33ers club when he died. And that was in 97. So, I mean, God, he'd be pretty old. But just to imagine what his career would have been had he not died. Secondly, again, y'all, you're finding out my fandom to NASCAR, but it'd be Dale Earnhardt. I mean, honestly, call me redneck, but this man was as blue collar as they come. He was the type of guy, he'd finish racing on a Sunday, he'd hop on his bulldozer on a Monday and would tend to his farm and everything like that. The stories that he could probably tell from his time. I'm going super old school for my third one. I'm going with our 16th president, Abe Lincoln. I would find it very interesting to see what his thought process was during our Civil War back in the 1860s. Again, I'm big on history. He would be an interesting mind to pick. And then lastly, Josh, you'll appreciate this. I'm actually going to go Kobe Bryant. I mean, we can share him. He can go to my table and then go to your table. But he, to me, was the second greatest player of all time behind MJ. The fact that he readily admitted that he honed his game after MJ's, but took it a step above was very interesting. But then he was in that phase of life to where he was ready to take that next step. And then him and his daughter's life was taken from him. It would just be interesting to see what he was wanting to accomplish before he was taken from us. So that's my 4, the gone too soon table. Anyone else?
I'll go next. 2 of mine are going to be family members, honestly, because my mom's been gone now for almost 20 years. So I'd want to have her, and my grandfather, Jimmy Miles, who led a very interesting life. As it was, he was in World War II. He got shot in World War II, got a Purple Heart for that. He got a Bronze Star. Funny story is when he got shot, they just sent a letter in the mail to my great-grandmother, which I guess was a good sign, knowing that nobody came and actually knocked on her door. But the letter started, we found it after he passed away and we were cleaning out his house. It said, "Dear Miss Miles, we regret to inform you." And I was like, man, imagine how her heart just sunk when she saw that. But he was okay. He was shot in the leg. But he was part of a church split in the 60s and went to court for that and was in the newspaper and everything else. That's where kind of where Liberty was born out of. The other 2, I think I would go. I'm gonna go presidential, like Brian. I've been more of I've become a fan of like just JFK and just studying that whole situation. Like, dude, who shot you? That's what I want to know. No, I'm just kidding. He still wouldn't have known that.
What was your last thoughts? No, gosh, I'm sorry. That was bad.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
But anyways, he I think that would be a good person to have at the table. And we discussed this earlier, and I kind of started leaning towards it. I was going to have a Bible, somebody from the Bible in there, and it actually is not going to be Jesus. It's going to be David. David is like one of the most interesting people in the entire Bible. Like, I mean, imagine the stories you could get from David. So that's my list.
All right, I'm not going to read the chat. It had something to do with Bathsheba. Let's put it that way. But if you know your Bible, then you get that. Those are two really good ones. I'm not going to go family, even though I almost would put some of my family there. I'm going to go a little bit more kind of like funny, and then I'm going to get serious. I'm going to go my first member of my dinner party, peak Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's got to be at my table. The humor, the dry, quick wit. I met him at a Cubs game back in the day. One of the best days of my life. During like the run of all the Vince Vaughn, he was dating Jennifer Aniston.
Wedding Crashers era.
Yeah, during that era.
Okay.
The breakup just been filmed with him and Aniston, like in Chicago. Anyway, so I'm going peak Vince Vaughn. Y'all know I'm going JJ Redick. I mean, if I've got a dinner table, those two guys at a dinner table would probably be really hilarious. And so I'm doing that. My favorite basketball player and favorite media personality. I am going to stay biblical, Jamie. And I just think this guy would be a riot. I'm going the Apostle Peter. I mean, the dude was wild, bro. Like he said crazy stuff off the top of his head all the time. Super like competitive guy. Would probably like curse out the waiter for something. It would just bring a lot of value, I feel like, to the table. Now, the last one. I have two written down for my last one. So, Brian, I'm going to let you have Kobe because I love that pick. And what you said, I really appreciate. I am most interested in the Mamba mentality transferring from retiring from basketball into pouring himself fully into being a dad. Like that resonates with me like big time. And so I love that, but it's not going to be Kobe. This is a Duke football podcast. I'm staying in the Duke football realm, and I'm going with our guy, Cade Parmalee. Throw Cade Parmalee and his personality with the Apostle Peter, Vince Vaughn, and JJ Redick. Man, what an incredible dinner that would be.
Listen, the rest of our tables would be complaining to the waiter because your table would be so loud.
Oh yeah, dude. It would just be it would be wild. Y'all would be like, share funny war stories or whatever. And we're over there like, making fart noises. So that's us.
No, Jamie would be like, so JFK, what was it like with Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah. Hey, David, you got any pointers you want to give him?
Yes. Oh man, those two together, whoo boy.
And then David's like, JFK, I got a question. Second shooter? No. Like I'm not. Anyway,
the waiter would be coming to Jamie's table, like, sir, you're gonna have to leave, you and your whole table. Sorry.
Jamie's mom's like, why am I here?
That's funny. Well, picking on me earlier about the crying, I may get to the crying point in a few minutes.
It's going to happen. We can't let it happen, Scott. No crying.
Well, Saturday will be a year. So
that's all you got to say.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that, bud. Take your time.
That's number one, obviously.
Yeah.
And by the way, just for the listeners, this is Scott's mom. Who, by the way, Scott, I got an email reminder because we sent flowers or something. Got an email reminder this week of it. And so I've been thinking about you, honestly, like got it a couple of days ago.
Wait. It's been a year since you sent flowers or what?
No, like we sent flowers for the funeral.
Oh, okay.
And so it sent me like a reminder of like, hey, they're coming up on a year anniversary.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But okay.
So obviously that would be number one. Her father, my grandfather, he passed away when I was 5. So, you can imagine the way I am now. If he'd have been with me for 30 more years, Lord have mercy upon everybody's soul that hung out with me. Jamie's grandfather, Josh and I obviously knew him. I love that man to death. I sat and watched football games with him, listening to stories about Duke football, and it was hilarious. And Duke was getting killed and it was still fun just to sit there for 3.5 hours with his grandfather. Love that man to death, but not going to take you. Let's see. So that's 2. Chris Farley would be a good one because I loved Chris Farley. But I'm going to go down that same road, similar. I think Adam Sandler would be hilarious. I would love to sit with Adam Sandler. And then my last one, and man, I want to go biblical, but I can't get myself to do it. I would really like to have Ryan Reynolds. He's like this era's version of Vince Vaughn. Same quick wit, same humor, same satirical stuff. And, halfway through his movies, he's sitting there talking and then stops and looks at the camera, and it's like having a side conversation in almost every movie, which is hilarious to me.
I'm pretty sure that both mine and Josh's wives are going to bump 2 of the people from the table, Scott, so they can talk to Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no doubt.
All women in America, really, for being honest.
But yeah, I think, and I wrestled with those last 2. Obviously, the family thing, the top 2, obviously. And not just because it's the anniversary, just in general. But yeah, that would be an amazing opportunity.
I love it. That's a great question.
All right. Tyler Lester got us discussing on another level with 2 different questions.
Dang, Tyler, you got Scott crying? Like, God.
And now I've got like 2 other guys in my head that I thought about putting on my dinner. I need to make my table bigger.
Drew Cheshire is coming in next. He had 2 questions, but I'm going to skip that first question because his was kind of similar to what Jordan had asked. But he said in his second question, is the Section 17 crew taking it on the road for an away game this fall? And we absolutely are.
Take it on the run, baby.
Hey,
let's
get
go.
Get your cowboy hats, get your cowboy boots, get your lassos,
We're
get your
heading to
horses.
Broadway, baby. We're heading to Broadway.
We're going to Nash Vegas for the Middle Tennessee State game.
That's right.
3 of them are flying. 1 of them is driving. See if you can pick which one.
4 is flying.
Yeah, Tyler's flying.
Oh, that's true.
Look. A lot of us are bringing our wives. We're getting like a big old fat Airbnb, and So hey, we're gonna get as big a one as we can, as many bedrooms as possible. Come hang out with us. There's gonna be a huge tailgate that day. I know with the Hortons the day before, or that day the Hortons and the potentially Bartons, I guess, depending on where Graham is playing that week. But there's going to be a really like intense tailgate, so I'm down for that for sure.
How big of a place are we getting? Because that was a good choice of words there for our Airbnb.
What did I say?
I don't even know.
It's going to be a party. Apparently,
it's going to be a party. That's all I know. And so it's going to be fun. So that's where we're at, Nash Vegas. Make sure you're there.
Well, that's the big trip. We're also going to be going to Winston-Salem and to Raleigh and Georgia Tech down to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's the plan right now.
I might have to skip some of those games to see our guys in action for the NFL, though, depending on how the schedule falls. Next month, by the way, folks.
All right, Brian, this one's for you. Regina Lee on Facebook. Do we anticipate having any behind-the-scenes access to fall camp?
Funny you should ask that, Regina. We are going to have some behind the scenes, not necessarily on fall camp, but on some other things. That's all I'm going to say. We're still working out the bugs. We're still working out the logistics of it all. But rest assured, this is not going to be the last time you see us before August. You will see us again, but it's going to be mainly on YouTube. That's all I will say, and I will leave it at that. Unmute.
Okay.
There we go.
We are back in season form, regular season form. We're running, let's see, Clint Wall. Thoughts on the QB room after spring ball?
It'll be a battle.
Josh kind of went through the battle.
It's going to be a battle, and I would not be surprised to see us land a backup in the portal.
I think we landed somebody in the portal, but I don't know if he's.
I don't think he was. I think that was the high school kid. I think. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Oh, was it?
I think so. But I whatever it is, I think we'll land that QB3 ahead of what's his name, Tomlin. Because like I said,
The Donald.
Henry right now, I'm not sure. So,
All right, we'll make this. Got one more question and then just a comment. Jason Rogers, should Duke do a 180 and have something similar to a turnover chain like Miami? He says it's time to become mean.
Sure.
I have an idea. I thought about this question. I saw this question. I actually have an idea. A pitchfork. I think that would be kind of cool to have. Like if you score a turnover, like you have a pitchfork, it's blue or whatever, and like I think that would be a really cool thing.
Hey, I've got one in the garage. They can use the Hudson used for last year's.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I think that I do like that. I do like the rewarding the turnover, and I think it's just fun.
So
I like the idea of it, but I'd just say, like Josh said, do something different.
Maybe a pitchfork and a cloak. Put the cloak around you, and then hold the pitchfork.
And then the light up horns.
Wow.
And then every time we touch, plays every time.
I'm surprised we didn't get that question.
every time we touch, we'll probably play when they let the other team score or something. I don't know. That's got to be like punishment, right?
I think we should play it on 3rd and 1. Like a big manly down. We can start playing Cascada.
All right, last thing here before it goes off the rails. At Phil the Wade says, no question, just wanted us to remind folks, get your season tickets. Go to goduke.com, get your season tickets. They're on sale right now.
If you live in Durham and you have a 277 zip code, you can get 4 season tickets in the general admission area. You can request Section 17, by the way. $277, 6 home games, 4 tickets to every one of them. You absolutely cannot beat that. Like, you cannot beat that. And can we give a shout out to Phil the Wade, Nick, and his team there? They're really doing their part, man, to try to help get more butts in the seats. And so, if you are interested in season tickets, like, you got to get them. You got to go and take care of that now. We will be doing our thing again this year. Our plan is to buy a pretty big lot of tickets and do some fun stuff with them, giveaways and things like that throughout the year. But make sure you do that. Faux show.
Yeah, your games this year, you start out with Elon at home. You're going to have UConn at home. The big game, 5 games in, folks, battle for the victory bell. It's the earliest that Duke has played UNC in many years, September 28th. Friday night against Florida State, October 18th. Then the very next weekend against the Pony Riders of SMU. And then you get to see Aeneas Peoples return to Durham and Virginia Tech November 23rd. So it's a good home slate, some good teams coming into Wallace Wade this year.
And to take one step further, since it was Phil the Wade that mentioned that, hey, he's got some things coming up too, trying to help organize and get some stuff together. Follow him and try to come out to as many of the events as you can. I've heard nothing but great things. I've not been able to so far because of just the schedule of the stuff I've had going on. But I know coming up here in the next couple of weeks, he's got some stuff going on. So it'd be great to get out there and, see other Duke fans, try to get everybody else pumped and ready because, hey, tomorrow the calendar turns to May and we'll be 3 months away.
It's gonna be May. Yeah, great minds think alike.
Yeah, that was weird. No, and what Scott said, so they were at the last Durham Food Truck Rodeo. Duke, Phil the Wade worked with the football program, and they were getting the word out. Actually had people signing up for season tickets out there from what I heard. And so if you follow Phil the Wade, reach out to them and let them know you're interested in volunteering, and they can set you up. We're all about that on board with Nick and what they're doing. So that's really cool. Guys, it was good to be back, man. Missed you, homeboys.
Feels good. It's like missing a part of me. Glad to be back and glad to answer some questions. And like I said earlier, we've got some stuff brewing. We got some stokes in the fire. This is not the last you'll see us for a few months. Josh just froze.
Back again. No, I think he's just real still. Like somehow.
Hey, I am not going to have any more internet problems. Thank you, Google Fiber. So
got rid of AOL.
Yeah, the dial-up every time.
You bought a new CD.
Yes, a
CD-ROM.
Netscape. Yeah,
Netscape.
I got me 2 more hours worth when I put it in.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Super fast.
Hey, guys, don't forget, if you're not following us already, on Twitter, X, at Duke FB Talk, please follow us. On YouTube, search for Duke Football Talk. If you are watching us on YouTube right now, would you make sure you like this video, leave us a comment. We'll do our best to get back to those comments. Subscribe to the channel, share it with some friends. I meet people all the time who are Duke football fans who maybe have not heard about our podcast. Share it with your friends on Facebook. You can just search Duke Football Talk. Same with Instagram, all that good stuff. So see us, find us wherever. We want to connect with you. We want to hang out. We want to talk all things Duke football. So we really appreciate you guys. 5-star ratings and reviews, especially on Apple. I tell you what, if you give a 5-star rating and review on Apple, give us a review. We'll read it on the next time we're together. We'll read our next 5-star reviews and give you a shout out. So we would appreciate it.
I will say this. We will be at ACC Media Day, which will be at the end of July. But we're hoping to have the behind-the-scenes content, some of it at least, before July hits. But again, we're working out all the details. We want to make sure we bring you the best content possible as far as Duke football and behind the scenes. But as Josh said, this has been another great episode. It's good to get the crew back. We're looking forward to bringing you more content as we inch closer to the 2024 Duke football season. But that will do it for this episode of the Duke Football Talk podcast. For Josh Cox, for Jamie Holt, and Scott Medlin, as well as producer Tyler Witt, I'm Brian Kennedy, and this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.